All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TFTuesday Podcast. My name is Zill. It's great to have you all back with us again here this week. It's a very exciting, momentous week as we are building up to Vernal Equinox on the weekend, which we will be presenting a live panel of K-Libra and myself on the Saturday at 3:30. So I hope that you will all come out and check out the podcast, because we've been given a very generous 90 minutes and we intend to make full use of it in every sense of the term. I'm, of course, joined by my illustrious co-host, K-Libra. How are you doing, K-Libra?
Doing not too bad today. I have a special guest in my home, and this is a guest that you might actually notice at Vernal Equinox 2025 at our TFTuesday Podcast panel.
Oh, very exciting. Are you going to leave us in suspense? Are you going to leave us in suspense? Who's the special guest?
It's a surprise.
It's a surprise? Okay, well then we will not spoil the surprise.
Fine. The hint is exactly what you're looking at in terms of the thumbnail. If you look at the thumbnail, and if you look at the template that we use, that is your hint.
All the hints are
there.
Put the pieces together, y'all.
Yeah. You can get a little gold star from me, or you could get like a little card from me or something like that with a little drawing of me. Yeah, you can get one of those. I'm serious. I got some.
I believe it.
You can guess it.
But you know what you don't have to put the pieces together for? The puzzle to find the link to our Patreon, which is provided in the actual thumbnail of the description, is very easy to find, and then you can go over there and maybe you can consider supporting us. You know, we have lots of wonderful folks in our Discord server. We have different tiers where you can have your name in the video, or you can help vote on topics like our last episode where we covered a wonderful smoothie of topics. So, you know, just many ways to solve that puzzle, solve that mystery, and give us a few cool $3 if you so wish.
You find the blue link, and it will show you where to go. And besides, some of the people that have been in our Patreon have also ended up on some of our episodes. If you have been listening to us this season, you have probably gotten wind of the game show that we hosted, and that was largely comprised of patrons.
Yeah. It's very, very cash money, some might say.
Yeah. Well, you know, we get big enough one day, then we can start doing cash money things. How about that? That's the dream, right?
That's the dream. But I think the best part of our podcast sort of setup right now is the cash money guest that we get to have on, which I think is pretty special too. And we have a special guest returning actually today, joining us. I'm really excited to have her on. So Angela, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me back. Angela Quinton here, werewolf person on the internet. A long time ago, I ran werewolfnews.com. I still own the domain and still get the WordPress update emails. I don't post there very much, and that may come up during the episode.
Yeah.
Editor of Werewolves Versus, author, and maybe retired ultra runner. I don't know. We'll see. I'm happy to be back on the show again. Give me something to look forward to on a post full moon hangover kind of day. It's nice to have this on the schedule. And no, I can't just curl up and go to sleep. I gotta be ready for the show.
Hell yeah! And I will say, just to further underline it, if listeners didn't listen to the last episode, you should absolutely check out Angela's writing. It's some of the best TF writing out there. Please go check out some of her stories. You will not regret it. So just want to make sure I mention that again because it's important.
Well, it's great writing, period.
Yes.
You get taken right into the situation. Again, another example of the power of written word, and somebody who cares about what that means. Mm-hmm. Don't replace drawing with writing. Don't do it. I gotta keep saying it. Until a few more people keep hearing that. Don't do it.
See, I'm not big enough on the scene, despite having been around for a long time. I'm not used to people perceiving me or saying nice things about the things that I make or do in real time. So, like, if it's kind comments on Blue Sky or you know, via email or something, I have a chance to let it kind of float in front of me momentarily, and then it just vanishes, and I'll think that something nice happened, but I don't remember what it was. But being here live with the two of you saying nice things about my writing and the fact that I do want to get into the TF stuff and my writing pretty quick. You got me on the back foot here already. I don't know how to respond to your kind words other than to say thank you, and you're encouraging me to just do more.
I'm really glad.
I'm glad. Look, I know how it feels. I still have trouble taking a decent compliment here and there, so I'm with you on that. But still like getting them, and I hope you do too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I know that my effort on myself over the past few years is paying off because I'm not slowly backing away from the microphone and out of the room. I'm actually able to sit in the space and feel the affirmation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good.
And
that's awesome.
And if I can just add,
I'm learning and growing.
Absolutely. And if I can just add, I think that, just still putting your stuff out there, I think is always really helpful for a lot of folks. And I say this for like a lot of the writers out there who are posting even when they don't necessarily get as big as of a response, because I've started getting back into writing myself again lately after a decade of not doing it. And I think that, sometimes we take steps away from certain mediums to refresh and recharge, and we don't necessarily know when we'll go back. But I think a lot of the folks who have posted a lot of great TF fiction, just fiction in general, over the past few years, I think helped me come back to it. And I think that that is the case for a healthy community in general. So I hope that people continue to consume as much as they can, which will feed into what we're going to talk about a little bit today, but consume in healthy ways, in ways that enrich themselves and, are a very nutritious, balanced diet for whatever kind of being you may be. So,
yeah.
But, I think one of the things that I was really curious to kind of chat about today, because it's been on my mind, honestly, is a little bit related to the concept of burnout, because, I think we've all kind of experienced burnout to some degree at some point in our lives. But I think a kind of burnout that we don't always necessarily talk about is related to the burnout of trying to keep up with all of the kind of media and such that actually comes out. I think in particular, a lot of the time when new kind of like transformation media or what have you comes out, lots of people obviously want to talk about it. And so there's kind of an impetus of, oh, well, I really want to go see that because, there's FOMO and also like, I like TF anyways. But especially more recently, there has felt like there has been, at times, a bit of a deluge. And I know that, obviously we're always like, we always want more, the whole 2 cakes thing, absolutely very good. That being said, it can feel a little bit difficult if you have this conveyor belt of cakes that is now advancing towards you, and it's like, oh my gosh, I have to try every single one, and oh, that one's gone, and oh god, and you just end up with this massive backlog of things that maybe you feel like you should be consuming, and you don't even have the energy to get through half of it. So I guess to start off, I was curious if that's something that you've felt at all before, and what your experience has been in terms of navigating it.
Absolutely. I'm still feeling it. I've definitely been feeling it for the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. My self-dig at not posting on werewolfnews.com anymore comes from that burnout. That was the first real manifestation of that, although it took me a while to realize that the cause was burnout and not... Yeah. For a while I thought it's because the website's too difficult to post on. I don't have a good workflow, so I made the problem worse by trying to add on or improve the sort of technical aspects of. I want to be able to see something on Twitter back when Twitter was a website that people wanted to go to. I want to be able to easily see something, pull out my phone, write a post about it, hit send, and then it goes up, and I have to think about it. And that in itself compounded the sort of burnout, which I recognize now stems from just the conveyor belt of cakes, the sheer volume of I hate the term content, but it's so convenient to use. Content, media, the things that people make. 5, 6, 10 years ago, there was a lot there, but I found it easier to keep on top of kind of the zeitgeist or the things of the moment, in part because I had a job where I was able to sort of do that off the side of my desk and not feel too guilty about it.
Right.
And I had the benefit of an almost 2-hour round trip commute every day on a train where I didn't really have anything to do except, look at the latest comic or graphic novel that had come out, or download something on YouTube to watch offline, or to catch up on a werewolf movie that had come out that I'd meant to see. There was sort of a dedicated portion of each kind of workday in the week where the work of posting on Werewolf News, which I did treat as sort of a job for a long time, could be done. It had a carved out space, and some changes in what I do for a living and where I live took away that dedicated time, in conjunction with just the exponential growth of the available channels for werewolf media and TF media, or media of all kinds, but specifically werewolf and TF stuff, just to become available. I mean, given I was making a list before we started recording, and we have the things I feel not just interested in, but I still feel compelled to look at to sort of keep up on what people are talking about. You got Blue Sky, you have the Fediverse, Tumblr, the personal websites of some artists and writers who don't tend to post on social media, Discord channels, Telegram group chats, and the sort of like post and read only and not reply type channels that Telegram has. You can tell I'm showing my age here. Nana doesn't know what the term is for that. Patreons. There's so many different avenues that I'm like, there could be something great out there that I'm missing. And that feeling of an overabundance and no real clear way to define a tidy filter for myself that I felt like I had any confidence in, just caused paralysis, option paralysis, overstimulation, and an inability or a real difficulty in trying to actually enjoy the things that I'm reading or watching or thinking about, because so much time and effort is put into finding it. I'm sure some of this comes from my anxious disposition, where I want more knowledge. I want to follow everything to its end. And if I get to the end, I don't feel satisfied. I grab a pickaxe and I start hitting the wall because I'm sure there's got to be more. There's more information to be had somewhere. It just becomes overwhelming. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately as I've made some other changes in my life. As I said, maybe retired ultra runner. I spent a long time training for big races over the past few years, and I've stepped away from that and found a lot more free time in my life lately. And I'm already feeling the impulse to go back to things that I set aside to make room for all the running.
Right.
In particular, things related to werewolf media, werewolf news, and being creative. And I'm trying hard to be judicious with that time and not immediately fill it with, okay, well, I have 2 hours free today, so it's time to go look at every new werewolf related post on all these different sources, and also see what my friends are recommending. And there's just there's a lot to manage.
Yeah. I can imagine. So like, I guess I got a couple of things to say, and they're like questions that you can like grapple with if you want to. One of them being something that, I don't know if it was like last episode or the episode before, but it was something to do with, like what, that was it. It was the question of like, if you ever got burned out on TF stuff, and, and then it also brought me to the realization that there's a lot of other things that I go to, which I don't find in this particular niche, which, again, I said it's ironic because you can fit this into pretty much anything. But sometimes when that's the focus, it does limit the scope. And I want to look for certain other things that I can only find in certain other places or certain other media. So, like, taking a break from that means that I get to refresh myself as well. So, like, I guess stating that, I'm wondering if you have anything else outside of the werewolf stuff that maybe you like to go to that also helps fill your proverbial cup. And the other thing I have to say is the bitter irony that people are starving for more and more stuff, and you can't find enough time or sanity to comb through it all. And the talk of there being some new show, some new this, some new comic, some whatever, and it features this and it features this theme. It's all like tied to werewolves, transformation, both or one of them, and there's just so much, and people are always wanting more. So I guess I'm asking, is there anything else that you find kind of fulfills you outside of those things that maybe would help you with that burnout or that you've gone to? And the other thing is, I guess, how do you feel now knowing that there are so many people who say, we need more TF stuff?
Well, the demand for more makes me really want to back away from the microphone and run into the woods and never come back, because I know I contribute to that myself, because I'm always looking for more. I mean, my wife Tandy, amazing artist, and I'm always pestering her for more art. So I'm doing it to people in my own home. And I'm also someone who writes and makes things herself. So I do feel that pressure to contribute and kind of make to make the flow of the fire hose even more ferocious.
Yeah.
And in terms of what I would do to focus on something other than transformation and werewolf media, well, until recently it was my other hyperfixation, which was running. And my location on the autism spectrum means that I just basically stood astride those two interests and just like yelled into the sky about it for 5 years, and having taken a step away from running and just maybe kind of getting back into it in a leisurely way without putting all the pressure on it to be a source of great personal fulfillment and accomplishment, but instead to just do it as a thing that's good for my body and mind, and that I could actually derive some relaxation from. I'm hopeful that approach is going to bear fruit in the realm of running, because I still really do need it and enjoy it. And I'm hopeful that applying that method to TF and werewolf media is going to continue to allow me to passively consume the things that people make and rely on other moderating factors to sort of keep the quality and like level of interest appropriate, because specifically within the subgenre of werewolf TFs and media, there's still, I think, as I mentioned on my previous appearance on this show, there's still a whole galaxy of different shapes, forms, methods of transformation, all of that. And everybody's got it's like pizza, everybody's got their favorites and the things that they're willing to eat when their favorite is gone, and the things they just won't, consume. They'll turn up their nose. I have my own preferences on that as well. And trusting friends and my own kind of curated feeds to passively float things into my attention that I'm more likely to enjoy, instead of obliging myself to go out hunting for everything and turn over every stone and look under every fallen tree for everything to, make certain there's nothing out there that could be cool I haven't seen. That I'm hoping will help moderate or make more sustainable this enthusiasm that I have. But no, I don't know how to relax, I think, is my problem. And what I really need to focus on is not an outside interest, but an ability to curl up in the big pink fluffy dog bed that I have on top of my regular bed and read a book, or finally beat Tears of the Kingdom, or do something that is completely outside of my hyperfixation interests. Because I have so much of my life and my identity invested in those interests that it's hard to decouple the sense that I'm accomplishing something from my pursuit of those.
Yeah,
I have a lot to say about all that stuff. A lot to say, but that's an entirely different subject that I would definitely get on.
Yeah, well, that touches on sort of the some of the earlier contributing factors of what led to my burnout, particularly in relation to werewolf news.
Right.
Because that was where I think that's where a lot of folks who listen to this show may have first heard of me. And for a while, it was a pretty popular site, to the point where I had movie directors and press kits and authors and people sending me things. It was was pretty crazy back in the the 20-aughts and early 2010s.
Yeah.
And the fact that I treated it like a job, a second job, even if it didn't really make any income other than like occasional like affiliate money and like getting cool free stuff in the mail, I felt like it was my responsibility, a self-appointed responsibility to adhere to my own standards of sharing what I thought was interesting and worth seeing and getting excited about in the realm of werewolf media in particular. I think the very first post I ever made on that website was discussing the unfortunately deliberately planted false rumor that an X-Files movie was going to be made with the premise being that Mulder is a werewolf, and there were even like faked Photoshop TF photos of and studies and concepts of what David Duchovny would look like, partially transformed, and it was just a goof the director put out to sort of throw people off the scent of whatever
he was doing.
The movie turned out being.
Yeah, and I want more of that now.
Yeah.
I want more of these fake outs. The last time it happened that I can think of in a major media release was Metal Gear Solid 2. And I love that game, but so many people got so angry about it. But yeah, I kind of like it when people do that. So just like when the real ad campaign comes out and everything is secure, they can't fuck it up,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. The age of everything leaking and being available has kind of pulled a lot of the joy of discovery and anticipation out of things, I find.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That self-seriousness you probably heard in my voice a minute ago, that was really pushing me to treat not just the way that I wrote and posted on the site, but my efforts to keep on top of everything, to know about every movie, every graphic novel, every children's book, just everything that came out. I felt like I had to at least know about it, even if I didn't post about it, because I pretty quickly came up with a rule that I wouldn't share anything on the site unless I personally thought it was exciting to me, unless it was some huge thing that was impossible to ignore and people would be asking about it. But it still contributed to the sense of I wanted a lycanthropic panopticon. I wanted to know everything that was happening in the space, and for a while it felt like that was sustainable because there wasn't as much happening, or there weren't as many channels through which that information could come to me. So it wasn't that difficult to stay on top of it. But with the advent of, I think the wonderful advent of self-publishing and the barrier to entry of filmmaking lowering quite a bit, and people able to throw together indie films and get them funded on Kickstarter, or even just to make them as student films and put them up on Vimeo or whatever. The realm of things that I felt like I need to know about this. I need to know who this director is because they talked about a cool concept for something in school. I wonder if they're actually going to turn that concept into like a 10-minute short film, because I can resurrect an old email thread with them to say, hey, can I get some like behind the scenes photos that maybe would be okay to share?
Right.
That feeling of I have to stay on top of this, just it's unrelenting. It will never diminish.
Yeah.
So retracting from that somewhat and reminding myself that like this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be a thing that I'm sharing as a personal interest that I'm hyped about, and I want to get other people who are wired like me to also get hyped about it. And if I'm burning myself out and getting grouchy, or if I'm freaking out because somebody else posted some JPEG crunchy watermarked photos of some behind the scenes thing from the new Howling movie or whatever a day before I did, and I'm mad about that, and I'm bringing that energy to what I'm trying to share and get excited about, that's not good for anybody.
Yeah.
So my main focus is to try and retract a lot from that, taking it too seriously and feeling like it's my responsibility to be the curator for the all of werewolf media, which is insane. Like that's nobody's job. But even feeling like I have to sustain that for myself and my own level of interest and my own kind of interest. That's not paying for my mortgage. That's not that's not putting groceries in the fridge, and it's not making me happy either, because it's not engaging with the things that people are making and putting out there in a sustainable or wholesome spirit.
Yeah.
I don't think.
It's I gotta say, a lot of that kind of resonates with me on a different axis, because I think, to some degree, and this is also a self-imposed kind of requirement, I feel like a lot of the time, particularly when we've been running this show, there feels like a bit of an onus, at least again, self-imposed, to try and bring on as many kind of new folks as possible, because, keeping on top of the new folks who are poking up in the community and then having them on so that people can hear about them, all that stuff. It's similar, parallel kind of experience. And I know that at least with this past season kind of to date, we've tried to take a bit of a different approach to that, because it was genuinely burning, both of us out to some degree, I think. And I think that's a big part of why we've done a few different things, but also like having familiar faces back, because we already know the rapport that we have. We know we have a good rapport with, yourself or some of the other people who have come back on again. And it's allowed us to kind of better center topics around things that are either directly affecting us or alternatively have a big importance that we feel like we can actually speak to wherever our heads may be. So first of all, I just want to say I really heavily relate to that feeling, because it's self-imposed, and it can be really frustrating at times. And I honestly relate a lot to the other point you made about that again, going back to that feeling of having to stay on top of everything. One of the things that I've noticed, and this is maybe in contrast to that other comment we hear sometimes of, oh, I want more, etc. I find that when people are looking through transformation media in particular, there's very much the kind of approach similar to what you described, where it's like, I'm going to go looking for this stuff. I'm going to go down every single rabbit hole that I can, because I want to find everything, because I don't want to miss out. And, I have that kind of anxious drive of I need to like find new places to maybe find stuff. And then there's folks who just kind of look at the same places, they finish that, and then they go, okay, well, there's no more. And then they head off and do something else. And I feel like it's the latter group that often says, oh, I want more. Whereas the former group is like, there's so much and I can't keep up kind of thing. And I feel like those two experiences often exist, again, like, side by side, friends with friends and such. And I wonder sometimes how it is that we can try to find that middle ground. And I think like what you've kind of described is very much a good example of that. I know that when it comes to trying to pull back and relax, just in general, it can be quite difficult for people of a more anxious disposition. Myself included. But it's also, a reminder to us about, what the end consequences of not actually relaxing is, because we can burn out on the media type, we can burn out of media in general, we can burn out on a medium. I mean, there's a variety of different things that it can affect from a creative perspective. And I think the most important thing that we can do for ourselves, of course, is try to maintain a healthy balance. And it can be challenging to find a way that also works with our own brain or our own brand of neurospicy in our brains or what have you. So it can be really challenging, but I think that having that sort of balance of like not only things that maybe exist outside of the specific focus, but also actually kind of trying to find ways to build in activities that force you to slow down is a really important thing that I have really been trying to do lately, honestly. So
yeah, I hear you on that. I have been trying to get more into enjoying werewolf concepts and feelings and to a certain extent media in a way that doesn't involve a screen. And that seems anathema here in 2025 when everyone's looking at a screen when they fall asleep and probably grabbing it off the bedside table first thing in the morning. But the same sort of relative ease of access for things like filmmaking equipment and self-publishing has also made things like 3D printing and silicone and latex prosthetics and all sorts of TF-related physical artifacts much more accessible, whether it's things that you can make at home or buy online or get at a convention like I'm sure the three of us will probably do next week. And I've derived a lot of pleasure, mostly at this point, from thinking about it and dabbling in that a little bit, because we're planning on maybe moving to a house with some more space this coming year, and we'll start getting into maybe making some more of those things ourselves or exploring that.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
It's tough to do in a small house with 3 people and 4 cats. But even something as simple as saying, I really like werewolves. I like hand transformations, hand and feet transformations in particular.
Yeah.
But hands are they're so intimate. They're the parts of ourselves that we see the most. And seeing those change in art is incredible, in media or reading descriptions of it. But being able to actually look at my hands and see claws where my nails should be, that's a thing I can do. I ordered something off of Etsy that just arrived in the mail from Bulgaria yesterday.
Hell yeah.
These amazing claws that just would go on like regular press-on claws, and they're incredible, and they absolutely tie into that hit of the dopamine of the TF experience being a thing you're actually seeing in front of you to a certain extent, and it also ties into much more deeply rooted and sort of squishy concepts around identity and dysphoria and dysmorphia. And it's a really wonderful way to say, to experience rather, things that are related to these topics that have nothing to do with the screen. Like I went to Etsy, I found the right things, I got the right size of my nails, I paid the $120 or whatever it was. They showed up in the mail, and whenever I feel like sitting down for 20 minutes to put these claws on my hands, and also committing to not really doing anything else for the rest of the afternoon that requires me to pick a coin up off the floor or take laundry out of the washing machine, I can have hands that look like it's 30 seconds after moonrise.
Yeah.
And that is a really wonderful way for me to experience transformation energy without exposing myself to the burnout rays of, the potential endless fire hose that could be, there's something new behind the next tab or the next link I click.
Yes.
I want to add just really quickly to that as well, because I have done a version of what you've just described before too, to also make me chill out. So I feel very seen by that comment, because I have I have a pair of magpie bones, kind of wolf/coyote arms that I can wear, and then I can't use my phone when I'm wearing those. There's literally no way. The thumbs are not even in the right position to do anything. So the only way I can interact with my phone is with my nose, which is very challenging and therefore very disincentivized. So I have used those before to make myself chill the fuck out. So anyways, I felt seen by that comment. I wanted to chime in on that.
I really like that. I like that. I should try that as a therapeutic method.
Yeah.
There's also just something to say that it is a form of fashion. The art in fashion is in the expression that you're able to achieve. So when people talk about fashion, I understand, and I also was in the mindset that the concept of fashion was something that is on a runway. If you talk fashion, you're either up your own ass or you're talking about those people, But fashion is a really broad concept, and it sounds like a flattening maybe of what both of you just said, but for anybody listening, just understand that if you go out and you dress a certain way, you're going to be addressed or seen a certain way. So if you do want to do something like put on claws, yeah, you can express yourself that way, and there is a comfort in that. I do it as well. There's a certain kind of fashion that I have found myself gravitating toward, and it makes me feel good, and it makes people approach me and treat me in a certain way. And then when nobody's looking, I still feel good being, dressed the way I am. And it's simple things like that get overlooked, because one of the things that really bothers me about a large section of the TF fandom is the despair that it's not real. Well, in a lot of ways it isn't. Maybe not the way that you want exactly. Find little ways to express it. It can be fun, If you're going to look for the ideal situation of all of it or bust, then yeah, you're not going to be happy. Which I could even loop back to the whole let's have more content thing. Mm-hmm. simply because I'm sure the reason people feel there isn't enough has a lot to do with them not having enough of the specific thing they want, which is where I will riposte and say, make it your goddamn self, or pay somebody a lot to do it for you. Those are your options. Yeah. But without going back to that, yeah, you got nails that make you feel like a monster? Cool. You know what I do? I wear a fucking cloak. I've said this before. But if people are just like, that's funny or that's cool, but seriously, I've gotten very particular kind of treatment from a bunch of strangers. A lot of positive interactions from people of like all kinds of ranges. You would think that a guy dressed in a cloak walking around would get like mostly a lot of weird comments, and I get some, but a lot of them are just like, wow, where'd you get that?
Yeah.
And like I told Zill that this past week on the way home, it was one of the last buses on the route, I think, and the bus driver on his break asked me where I got it, and it led to a conversation about how he was a biker who had a Norwegian friend and he wanted to do a Viking getup, and he told me about Portuguese history, and that was the entire ride home just because of what I was wearing. So the moral of the story is, if you want to find yourself some claws, if you want to press in some like teeth, if you want to just like wear like a certain kind of shirt or clothing or something like that, then give it a try. And if it happens, and even if nobody else gets it, you get it. That's really more than you might think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I connect with that a lot. The moon being full over the past few days, of course, I'm thinking werewolfy thoughts. While I was out running some errands, I had darker makeup on my eyes, and I was wearing the ISO standard black and red plaid, werewolf lumberjack, overshirt, and I had fangs in, and I felt very much like I look like someone who could plausibly be a werewolf. Maybe not be taken like super seriously, like people see me in the grocery store and think that I'm oh my gosh, I'm gonna say lunatic, and I don't mean it as a lunar pun, but I wasn't throwing off I'm wearing a costume energy, even though I was wearing some things that could be considered a costume. But what I was doing was walking through the world in a way that I felt very confident that I look how I feel. People who are looking at me are seeing what I'm choosing to represent myself as, and they can draw their own further deductions from that based on their own life history and experiences. But what they are seeing is someone who's chosen on this particular day to wear these things and to have some fangs in and some kind of lupine-looking eyes. And even if I don't get a cool conversation with somebody who's a biker, who has this crazy background, or some other equivalent experience, even something as fleeting as passing somebody who's wearing like a Therian symbol pendant and just giving each other the nod, like, yeah, okay, there's another creature person. Like, even though we may be coming at it from different angles, like there's a connection there. I see you. That even something like that is so affirming, not just because it's me being seen and understood as I wish to be seen and understood, but it's creating this little moment of connection with somebody else out in the world who may also wish to be seen and understood, or even to find an avenue to talk about where I got my fangs from, or where I got my claws from, or different ways to do your makeup to make yourself look like you're subtly turning into something else. Like that's so powerful.
Yeah, but I just also want to say that, the feeling that, maybe you don't get a cool conversation. Keep in mind, I'm talking about going through cities. I get a lot of these reactions because I live in a very highly populated area. I think that if you were to go out and about in that kind of getup, and maybe we were walking around town, like in places that I like to go to, you'll probably have like one person soon enough just approach you and just be like, what's up with that? With genuine curiosity. Yeah. And that can be so much fun, you know? Because go ahead.
It's happened to me many times too. And I mean, I very much relate to what you said, Angela, because that's kind of how I approach, wearing my tails around all the time. I mean, I have like 17 tails, so I can match them to my mood as a species or what have you. And, a lot of the times, sometimes you'll get some like looks or whatever, but like, I don't think I've ever really felt like someone saw me wearing a tail and didn't like at least make the tangential connection of, oh, that's probably maybe what he's just vibing with right now. But also like on top of that,
like they make them tent.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, I'd also say that, to the point about the comments, I mean, in my time, I've had a pretty good, like, sense of, the interactions I've had and such where people have actually commented on it. And I've genuinely, I think maybe 5% at most has been negative and the rest have been positive. And I think that does speak to, as you're kind of mentioning, Libra, like the fact that like there are people out there who are curious and want to learn more. And even if it's not something they're necessarily into, they may come up and approach you and actually have a good conversation. And you're not going to get that every single time you go out. But sometimes you'll get a really good one and you'll be like, man, I'm really glad that I wore this. I'm really glad that this person approached me and felt comfortable asking me. And I'm glad that we had a good conversation about it, because I've definitely had those kinds of interactions before and had people walk away from it in the most incredible of places. I think, and I feel like I've told this story maybe before on the podcast, but I'll mention it again. When I was in Norway, I went to the...
I was wondering. I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
I really wanted to bring that up. Wait, actually, you might bring up a different one because we didn't hang out all the time, but go ahead.
Well, so I was with a pessimist and Triangle, and we went to one of the art museums in Norway. And we ran into this very kind lady who I was wearing my snow leopard stuff. And so she saw the makeup and the ears and the tail. And she was like, oh, are you like some kind of a snow leopard? And I was like, yes, actually I am. And so we were talking a little about that. And she asked some like fairly basic questions and then kind of moved on. And then when we were going to leave, we ended up in the same elevator as her. And she actually had her husband there, and I had interacted with her one-on-one, so she was there with myself, Pessimist, and Triangle, and she was like, oh, are you all animal people? And then she was like, wait, let me guess. And then she correctly pegged that Triangle was a tiger and that Pessimist was some kind of dog. Now, she didn't get the dog breed right, but the fact that she got so close on both of those was really impressive. And so then, of course, we were like, well, what about you guys? Like, you're both here. And her husband piped up like almost immediately, was like, oh yeah, I would be an owl. And like, I saw it immediately because he had this incredible like mustache and beard combo. And like, he looked like an owl. It was so incredible. And then we asked her and she was like, I don't know, maybe like a mouse or something. And, I think the three of us immediately put in our minds, okay, owl, mouse, predator, prey, very interesting. All right, I hope you all have a wonderful time, because it sounds like you guys have this all figured out. But like, it was only because we had that conversation that we ended up finding out more about it. And it was like, see, and these were, 60 plus folks, and they were very kind. And I was like, you know what? I hope this is a realization that you've already had and have been thinking about for a while. And if not, I'm glad that we helped you think about it a little bit, because clearly you've got more to dig in there. So,
see, I love this. This is anti-burnout to me. These sorts of encounters and conversations, even just the possibility that they could happen in daily life. That is, aside from being really affirming and I think like great. Just at a community level, it's just such a great way to explore TF and creatureness generally in a way that isn't just about consuming or about finding that one perfect like crystallized representation of the thing that you want to be or that you want to turn into, or that one perfect thing. It's less about acquiring and more about experiencing and sharing, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're active in your interest, and that also just opens up a ton of other things for you. And it's great. It is wonderful. The story that I have, I guess, is less relevant, but I'll just cut it short because we were all at a shop. Zill was with me, pessimist, triangle, and more actually. But it was like 7 of us, 8 of us, or something like that. Mm-hmm. Some guy, just some dude, walks by us, and he looks like one of those dudes that people tend to avoid, but I can tell that he's just completely harmless. And he just turns and starts asking if we're all in a band.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a really good conversation because, we're in Norway, and most people in Norway speak English, but his English wasn't so great. But when he was like, "Oh, are you guys in a band?" I'm like measuring, like, "Are you just going to be a dick?" But like, no, he was actually like down with it. And then he was asking if we post stuff on YouTube, and all this other kind of shit. And it was fun. And at the end of it, he was just like, "Rock on." Even though I told him, "No, we're not in a band." He was just like, "You guys make anything?" I'm like, we make things. And we put it on the internet. It's great. It's great to make yourself like actually a part of this world and, curb the myopic shit. It's good to curb the myopic shit. It actually doesn't help you too much to be like really cynical or feel like humanity is like a lost cause kind of like blight. Don't be an anime villain about it. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thinking about community as well, I'm realizing what a large part that has played in me, kind of recovering from burnout and teaching myself better habits. Keeping company with people whose tastes, even if they're not the same as yours, are known to other people. In my own life, that has made a huge difference. Like I definitely feel the impulse in me. That I've always had to think, all right, well, there's somewhere out there I'll find like the greatest werewolf art or, the most amazing transformation sequence. I just haven't found it yet. And I can curb that somewhat by knowing that I have friends and a partner who know me well enough, know my taste well enough that if they see something that they think I would like, or they make something that they think I would like that's really in the pocket for me, they'll share it. I don't have to go looking for it like it's part of my, my daily ritual to go around and feed the cats and take out the trash and check all my little sites and stuff. Like I know if I want to see werewolf art that is particularly appealing to me, I could just go find stuff that's posted by Dog Blood or Cargo Reborn. Or if I want to read something that really strikes home, there's Jack, aka Thistle, the editor of Dog Teeth, has put out some really amazing stuff recently. Like there are people that I know in my life who will surface things to me that that rise above the sort of background radiation of TF and werewolf media in general. In part because I've found them and established friendships with them, but also because we do have a friendship or a working relationship or, in the case of Tandy, a 20-year romantic relationship. We know each other well enough that I can be a recipient for that sort of stuff instead of actively seeking it out myself. And that allows me to put my focus elsewhere and be pleasantly surprised when I check my notifications or see what Tandy's drawing or, go look at somebody's website for the first time in a week and see there's a new thing to read.
Yeah. I think, well, I'm going to say this, and I don't know if either you're going to agree, but I just don't think it's good to make TF of any kind your actual whole identity. It can be a very large part. Mm-hmm. It can be something that, it can be something that's core to you even, but the totality of your personhood, it's not a good idea, mostly because it's not a good idea to do that with any particular thing. I have had real serious discussions about this kind of shit because it would make me feel terrible that I seem to be falling short of some kind of expectation or goal or perceived or perceived standard, a standard that I made up and I can't even put words to. Mm-hmm. But it's there, and I'm failing. And, the question that was laid to me, which helped put a lot of things in perspective a few years ago, was, aside from an artist, what am I? You can't hang your hat on that because maybe you're not having a good time with that aspect of yourself one day. And then what? there's nothing about you that's worthwhile, it's really fucked up. It's also unknowingly like a flattening of one's own personality if you end up doing that. So if you find yourself making TF your whole identity or something like that, it's actually not great. So I don't know, either you guys' thoughts on that?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Speaking as somebody who has aforementioned hyperfixations, especially with running, is a lot easier to define where the goalposts are that I set for myself.
Right.
Because there's distance, or you finish a race or something like that. With werewolf media, it's a little more nebulous, but I could definitely put pressure on myself to write a certain number of stories per year, or figure out and then act on the successor to Werewolves Versus with some new like group anthology or something. But I'm also really good at moving my own goalposts when I'm getting too close to them. I've definitely done that with running, with something as trivial as a yearly mileage goal. And when I get too close to it at the beginning of December, I have to then move the mileage goal further away. I don't know why. I don't know why I do that. I don't know why I would set my own standard that nobody else knows or cares about unless I tell them about it, and even then they probably won't care. And then when I personally get too close to it, feel like I have to move it in order to prove something to myself, to prove that I really am the runner that I think I am, that I really am the gender fucky, TF laden werewolf media connoisseur and writer that I think I am, because I've shared these posts about things and published these stories. It's always a losing game if you're constantly moving the goalposts on a matter that you are so invested in as a part of a core part of your identity. And the other thing I would say is, I consider myself a werewolf. I would say that I have lycanthropy, but it is also, I would hope, not the most interesting thing about me as a person. And I don't want it to be, and I don't want to present it that way, because it's not a thing that I can represent as my whole self, because that doesn't make any sense any more than saying I am a writer or I am a runner expresses the totality of who and what I am.
No, I agree with that, and I wish more people would take that into account, not only when describing themselves, but also when they approach interactions with others. Because again, I think there have been a number of times in which, I may meet someone who seems cool and we chat a little bit, and obviously we talk about TF things that we're interested in, but then the conversation never progresses. We don't get into who we are as people. And for me, that's almost the number one sort of signal of we're probably not going to jive, because yes, I love talking about transformation stuff. We have a podcast where I talk all the time. But at the same time, it's those are not the only things that make me a person. And so just to very much underline that point, Angela, I think that, I would hope that people also can try and see the totality of you, just as I hope they see the totality of everyone that they're interacting with within this space, because that's the way we can actually genuinely connect and build that kind of community that can then help to work towards healing sometimes the burnout that we may be facing, be it from, trying to keep up with media or, just working too hard on certain sorts of productions and burning ourselves out that way. So,
yeah, don't be a consumer. Don't do your best to not be a consumer. And I guess I'm also saying that because I think people don't realize when they are acting that way, because when you seem to lose interest in somebody beyond the niche that you wanted to bring up in a conversation, then you're there just to consume. What are you consuming? You're consuming somebody else's time and interest to feed your own, and that's it. Yeah. There's no growth there. It's not even all that satisfying, There's indulgence, but then there's just kind of that. And, is that really okay? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that impulse sort of trending into media consumption habits for myself as well, sort of feeling subconsciously, and I'm trying hard to unlearn this habit, that not being able to converse with other people in werewolf and TF communities with whatever the latest movie or show is somehow means that I'm not holding up my end of the bargain in this, this transactional kind of conversation we're going to have about whatever it is this come out. I still haven't seen Werewolves, the movie that came out in December, the Frank Grillo thing.
Yes.
Nor have I seen the new Wolfman movie, frankly, because both of them look fucking terrible, and they feel like homework. They feel like things that have been assigned to me by the universe because they intersect with a topic of my interest. And in order to have a conversation with other people who've got the same interest, I have to be capable of discussing whatever there are in those two movies. They're worth discussing. And the sense that I get from the people I trust who have seen those two movies is that there's probably isn't much there for me personally. And I'm trying hard to not capitulate to that earlier impulse or that earlier version of Angela that felt like, well, it's my job because I have to see it, because I have to be able to talk about it to other people who haven't seen it. I have to be able to participate in any discourse if there's some if the thing is deep enough to
fuck that shit
I mean I will never participate in discourse for the sake of it, but if there is something that accidentally gets released in mainstream media that does have something insightful or profound to say about any of the things that lycanthropy could be used as a metaphor for, identity or changes in priority or interacting with trauma or all the things that werewolves and TF in general could be used as the metaphor for. Sure, you could say some profound things about it, and if people want to have those conversations, I want to hang and know what they're talking about, but not if that means that I have to dedicate 2 hours of my Saturday to watching a not very good movie about it, just so I can tick that box.
Well, okay, I have something to add to this, because Cosmic, last night I was talking about something very similar to this. Somebody had asked me in my server if I had watched The Room, and I haven't, and I don't want to. I have seen the clips. I've seen people make videos about it that are more entertaining than the movie itself. People be like, it's so bad it's good. Really? I don't give a fuck. I don't care. It's a bad movie. Oh, why? It's stilted delivery and it's funny and the guy says funny words and his English is weird and all that kind of shit. I don't give a fuck, man. I don't fucking care. Why do you want to watch the movie? You should watch The Room. I don't want to. It wasn't like an adversarial sort of thing. I'm just like, but I gave this attitude because I'm just like, there is like the pocket of people who like to go and watch media, and if you feel insulted by this, then check yourself, okay? I feel like there are way too many people that like watching shows or media that they think is shit simply to feel smarter than it. Oh, I like looking at it and and just like and laughing at how bad it is. Why? Why do you want to spend your time laughing at media that is bad or that you think is shit? Why? What is the point? To feel smarter than it? It's
like dominance through consumption. Like I have consumed this thing, therefore I've beaten it.
Yeah. And worse yet, some people like pay the fucking money. They pay their full price. They go and they support it. And then they're just like, man, they keep making these bad fucking movies. I gotta go see this one though, because it must be bad. What the fuck is wrong with you? Are you trying to hide that you genuinely enjoy it too? Like, I got questions for these people, man. But all that just to say, yeah, it's like you want to hang with a conversation. If people are going to be like, did you see the new movie? It's so bad, and I knew it would be bad. Then why did you fucking watch it? Why don't you talk to me about something that you went into in good faith, thinking that maybe this will be a good time, and tell me how you feel about that, good or bad? Because that's what I try to do. Yeah. It doesn't mean that I'll never sit down and be like, okay, what is this? Let me see. But that's if I want to form my own opinion about it. Not because like I want to entertain myself with bad media. Like, if you love camp, fine. The thing about camp is that it can be sincere, and then you can find fun in it. I have been recommended by Proxer, for instance, to watch Fast and Furious movies with her, and she says that she knows it's stupid and she knows it doesn't make any sense, and she knows all that shit. Thing is, she's like, there is just some dumb shit in that which can't be matched, and it just gives this feeling of goodness because it's entertaining as fuck. And I'm like, I'll give it a shot if you're giving it to me that way. I never watched them, but they get stupid. How stupid? I'm willing to find out if that's how it is.
If I can say one thing in the defense of the Fast and the Furious movies, not because I'm a particular have a particular love of them, but they did save me when I was trying to stay awake on a 14-hour flight. So I will forever be grateful for the loudness and the flashing pictures and, you know, explosions and everything. It was really useful on that flight, so I really appreciate them for that specifically.
My sort of guiding principle is whether I have a curiosity about the thing or not. What comes to mind for me is the Maisie Day episode of Black Mirror. I remember when I first saw some soul for whom I'm incredibly grateful had not only clipped the transformation scene out of that, but that scene takes place in a darkened bedroom with many people with camera flashes taking photos of the transformation. And it's kind of hard to watch. And this person who had clipped the scene had also clipped out the frames where the camera flashes are going off. So even though the result was kind of jittery or stuttering or staccato in a few ways, it was much more watchable. And it's about 30-40 seconds long, but it was riveting to me. That personally, that's my like ideal pizza. That's like the perfect werewolf transformation. So I had a curiosity about the rest of the episode, so I sought it out and I watched it. I would say it was probably a C+ at best in terms of like an episode of a TV show, particularly one that's known for having really trenchant and incisive things to say about, we live in a society type concepts. But I don't regret watching it because I wanted to see the kind of like the setting in which this jewel of a transformation was placed. And I don't regret doing it. I don't regret acting on my curiosity to see the sort of context around this. And as a result, I can have a conversation about that whole episode. I have been asked a couple times to go on podcasts to actually specifically talk about that one specific episode of TV. It hasn't happened yet, and I'm hoping we can put it together. This host and I. But I went into that willingly because I had a curiosity, and there's things out there that I know exist that I just don't have a curiosity about, I think. And that's the difference for me. That's why I don't want to see the 2025 Wolfman. I don't want to see werewolves. There's very popular werewolf-related, long-running werewolf-related webcomics. I just don't want to read because I don't have a curiosity about them. I know they're not for me, and I don't want to consume them to defeat them, like some people will watch The Room. And I don't feel like seeking out things that are only tangentially related to my specific like puzzle piece of interest in the topic is worth it, because it's not. Despite me being an anxious person who does need to 100% every open world game that she plays, which is why I still haven't beat Tears of the Kingdom, I'm not a completionist when it comes to media related to the things that I like, because
you'll never do it.
You can't do it. I would never do it, and even if I tried, I wouldn't enjoy a lot of it because it would be homework. It would be things that missed the mark that I got pissed off about because I saw a missed opportunity, or they did a thing badly, or they took it in a direction I didn't like, or it was just poorly made, or it wasn't for me. There's tons of stuff out there that is exquisite in the TF and werewolf community, and in media in general, that is really well made and deeply impactful, and it's just not for me. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay to let that part of that angle of the spray of the fire hose, that can miss me. I don't need to run in front of it.
I will say, the one thing I don't mean to, because I agree with everything you said. I just want to go back on the Maisie Day point just for a second, just to say, as someone who didn't know what was going to happen when I watched that episode, it shot up a few marks from, I think, that C+ point. And I think part of that was because of, once I'd watched it all the way through and gone over my kind of surprise, watching it back again and then seeing where the hints were and all these things that I had missed on my first look made me appreciate some of its craftiness. Because I do agree, I don't think that the message that it had was particularly incisive or groundbreaking or new. Like, Paparazzi Bad, very much a covered story that we've seen, and I don't think Black Mirror had anything new to share there. But that being said, I remember watching, because I watched them all when they came out. Black Mirror is one of those shows that I actually do watch it when everything comes out. And so it was like 3:30 a.m. or something, and I'm watching this show, and I'm like, oh, it's interesting, blah blah blah, and then the transformation happens, and I'm like, wait, what is happening? And I just
That's a very different. I'm really glad you had that experience. That it hadn't been. You went in without that context. Maybe I.
Yeah, it was ruined for me.
Yeah,
it was ruined for me. You know how it was clipped for you and everything. I saw the clip and I was like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Well, this is amazing, but I don't know what this is." And it was in a server where I didn't want to talk to anybody, so I'm like, "Whatever." Then he's like, "Okay, you got to watch this Black Mirror." I already like Black Mirror, so that's not hard. And then I saw The Room, and then I saw The Moon, and it was just like a few moments before like the scene started, and I was like, oh, I've seen this. And it would have been great if I didn't.
Yeah.
Because it's really fucking good.
It is really fucking good.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it that one of the major psychotic fucking hatreds I have about this fandom is that they will spearhead a piece of media by saying, I really like this thing. It has TF in it. Wouldn't that have been nice if I would have been surprised by it? What if it is a surprise? Can you shut the fuck up? And it happened to me, and since you already mentioned Maisie Day, and you get a pass for mentioning it, by the way. Fucking.
I was so. What is it? That was in the 5th season, or what are they on the 7th now?
I don't give a fuck.
It was a number of years ago at this point, honestly.
Oh no! But even then, I'm still really. I find myself trying to couch my language in a way that won't spoil it for people who haven't seen it. But
I appreciate it. Trust me, I'm not really like upset. All I'm saying is like it's happened to me like a few times. It happened with, and I guess this will be spoiled for you anyway. I probably mentioned it already somewhere in the show. Sorry to bother you.
Yes,
it was like it has TF in it, and I'm like,
I wish I hadn't known.
What?
I wish I hadn't known going into it.
Yeah, and they're just like, it has this kind of TF in it. I'm like, okay, I guess we'll go watch the movie. And I was like, wow. Everything surrounding that was impeccable, and nobody told me. Nobody told me what kind of movie it was. Nobody told me what kind of message it pushed. Nobody even told me who the fuck is in it. They're just like, it has TF in it. Thanks for fucking nothing, asshole. I might have not wanted to see it at all simply by that metric, because lots of things have it.
Yeah. And
fuck off.
Well, the other thing that I think it also bumps up against when it comes to like media, and I think in particular this is for like the written medium within like our TF community, most stories, when they are presented, and it's specifically for a TF audience, you will get, like, it'll be in like the thumbnail or like in the headline description or whatever, but it'll be like, this is the kind of TF you're getting, these are the things you can expect. And like, that's not a bad thing necessarily, but sometimes I also think like, what if I'm, as a writer, want to surprise you? What if I don't want you to necessarily know what's going to happen because I want you to come along on this adventure? You get faced with this kind of catch-22 of like, unless it's like, a very core part of like the synopsis, you can't just like hide it away in your story and then expect people will read it, because if they don't see specifically like a description or something, they'll be like, well, it doesn't necessarily have TF in it, so I'm not going to bother spending my time on it. And I think that's like kind of the flip side too of like, the necessary kind of impetus from the community to disclaim it, when it's like, maybe I'm trying to actually write something and challenge you as I'm writing this.
That's tricky, because I wouldn't have watched that Black Mirror
Yeah.
season or that episode at all. I don't have anything against the show. It's just not high enough up on my
Yeah.
list of things to consume that I wouldn't have ambiently consumed it and had the experience that you did. So I'm grateful that I learned about it in that way, because it certainly has provided me with, again, like the best werewolf TF I think I've ever seen.
Well, remember also what you said earlier at the beginning, that you have friends and people
people
you
you
know
trust,
who will
yeah.
recommend things to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like a friend of mine being like, I think you should see this. I think you'll like it, and leaving it there. Maybe it will have the thing, but if it doesn't, maybe you'll actually like it anyway. You don't lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, you were saying. I interrupted.
I think I was trying to go somewhere about the like not spoiling a thing if it would be enjoyable otherwise. But then the other side of that I have done in some of my writing, like my story Spit. Like you learn within the first like 2 or 3 paragraphs, like the narrator is a werewolf. Like that is not the most interesting thing that happens in the story. Is this person has lycanthropy and has just woken up after a change. Like I'm going to tell you other things that you will hopefully find more compelling. And I think what I am hoping to experience more of as the available media and creations continues to blossom, and as I continue to rely more and more on the people who know me to do some of that filtering and vetting for me, is to discover things that do have topics of lycanthropy or transformation in them that aren't the most interesting thing about the stories either. I don't want it to be the most interesting thing about me, and I don't necessarily want that to be the most important thing about the characters in the story either. So it's okay for it to be surfaced early, or to be mentioned in a way that's like, whoa, that's weird. Okay, how is that going to impact whatever else happens in the story? It doesn't have to be the centerpiece of the story in any context, because despite the fact that we all love a really great TF scene of any kind, to the point where we definitely do love the taxonomy of like, okay, what kind and how long is it, and like let's use all these little agreed upon categories and bits of terminology to show you the exact like perfect everlasting gobstopper shape of like, this exact TF. Like, I get it. I have a brain that's wired that way too. I also very much enjoy walking into something knowing that I'm very likely to enjoy it just based on what I've gleaned from, the poster or the fact that it was recommended by somebody, and then to just experience the thing as a whole, as opposed to diving directly in on that one little nugget that everyone's excited about. That's going to definitely be a reason for me to post about it on Werewolf News or whatever.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's been on my mind a little bit just because of the, again, rekindling of my writing stuff. I've been working on something that's already 12,000 words long, and I need to find a way to end it.
I'm excited.
I need to find a way to, I mean, I know the ending, I'm getting there, but the point I mentioned is just because, like, there's more than one transformation scene in it, but those aren't even, like, the pivotal moments like you described. Like, the pivotal moments are very much not there, and that's not necessarily the message of the story per se. In fact, I think the message of the story is perhaps a bit surprising given my usual fare, but the point being, I wonder sometimes about, like you said, like finding ways in which we can kind of thread that needle to like draw people in to some degree, but also have that air of mystery. I think that it's still something that we all as individual artists sometimes have to grapple with in terms of finding the right balance, because everything works differently for everyone, right? And so it's just a matter of trying to thread that needle that I think can be a bit challenging at times. But
I don't think there's a needle to thread. You make something that's supposed to be entertaining. I think that if you're looking at it from a TF lens, which is the limiter, then you're thinking about a needle to thread. There's no needle to thread. Write your story, and if it includes it or is a heavy feature of it, then okay.
I guess I'm thinking about it more from the perspective of I would like people to read this, but I also want to aim for an air of mystery. How do I still ensure that the people who will like this read it? That's the needle I'm kind of talking about.
If you figure out how to thread that needle consistently, please tell me, because I don't know how to do it.
I think it's simple. If you have a following and you're making it, they will have a general idea of what you're probably making.
You would
so
think
there
that.
Isn't really any needle to thread. If you're trying to bring people in,
No, I would say you would think that, and yet I have the statistics to back it up
I know.
that don't lie.
The statistics are fucking borked, mostly because there is like the whole bias toward wanting to look at things rather than read them. And that's the case.
That's true.
That's the case. You have also made things that you have poured your heart into that are very clearly marked. This is the kinks I'm doing. These are the fetishes I'm doing. And they score lower than the other things that you pour your heart into that you also think is like maybe really hot too.
Yeah.
So come on.
No,
you can't give me the numbers because the numbers are bugged. That's why I'm saying like I'm just gonna do the thing. And besides, I think that it's also further harmful because if you do want to do something that strays away from that, oh well, nobody's gonna read this. Why should I even write it? And you're the one who's losing.
Oh yeah, trust me. I very fully stand behind the idea that people, like artists, should be able to create. We've talked about this before. Artists should create what they feel like, and their audiences should do their best to follow them because that's how you have
your audience.
Yes. That's how you
for your audience.
That's how you have a healthy relationship with it.
Have some fucking contempt for your audience. Angela has some contempt for the audience, knowing that she doesn't have to fucking look at every little werewolf thing. I thought you were Werewolf News. Do you want to work for my newsroom? Do you want to volunteer? Shut the fuck up.
I mean, I will tip my hat to the movie reviewer Craig J. Clark, who has written a Full Moon Features movie review every full moon for a decade, I think, or longer on that site. Mm-hmm. Free at this point. He probably has more claim to werewolf film expert than, well, he definitely does because he literally wrote a book about it. But
you probably could write a book about it too if you want to. I really look. I'm not trying to take credit away. All I'm saying is like try not to do the thing that you're doing now. You know what you're doing. I'm looking forward to
reading the things that my friends write because my friends wrote it, and I'm interested in seeing the things that my friends make, as opposed to reading things because I feel like it's my obligation as a person who curates werewolf stuff that other people might want to see, or because I want to like tick that box in my my Pokédex, basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're doing the good thing for yourself, and hell, it still means that you can come back and add to some news if you want to. That's the thing that all of us who really want to keep making more of something can try to fucking aim for, is the if you want to part. As you said, it's not bringing in groceries, it's not doing the paycheck, so measure the energy that you're putting in, the expectations you have, because what's on the line really could be more personal. And I mean the health of you emotionally and mentally and all that stuff, it matters.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to make shit.
Yeah. And leaving space for others to sort of occupy the niche with their own take on the interest has been really healthy for me too, I think. For a while I was trying to branch out on the Werewolf News site to have a blurb about basically every movie that had come out that contained a werewolf in it, with a link to somewhere that you could watch it, and something that I thought about the movie. Not necessarily a review, but like maybe like a rent it, buy it, or skip it type assessment.
Yeah. And
that got me thinking about, okay, well, if I'm doing that, then maybe I should also have some kind of an assessment on like how are the werewolf effects, because a movie could be really great on its own as a film, but then have just absolutely terrible effects, or to have have a werewolf design that I don't vibe with. So maybe it would be useful as a service or as part of my whole deal to share that. And that just becomes this addition, again, moving my own goalposts.
Yeah.
And deliberately, with good faith, but unkindly to myself, establishing an additional set of criteria that I then feel obliged to fulfill. And by backing off of that and basically not having done anything to that list in, at this point, probably 7 or 8 years, I'm now free to look at the things that others are doing. Dobe's Crusher, I think a year or two ago, he put together an extremely comprehensive list of every practical werewolf effect in every movie that's come out since I think the 50s.
Holy shit.
Including screenshots. I could be getting some of the details wrong, but he put in an enormous amount of effort to capture and catalog that stuff in a way that is way more detailed than I ever could have, because his specific focus is like, here's the movie, here's some screenshots of the werewolf in I think the TF scenes. That's it. I'm not giving you a review of the movie. I'm not doing anything else. I'm just showing you, here's what it looks like. That's great, because he doesn't have the additional overhead of, well, I have to write a whole other website around this for some other reason. That one hyper-targeted niche of TF media and werewolf media is the perfect little wedge that I can then say, he's done it. Even if he doesn't work on it anymore, somebody did that in a way that's better and more comprehensive than I could have.
Yeah.
So that self-appointed responsibility to do it because I thought about it just evaporates. Somebody already did it better than I could.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I also said maybe you need a newsroom. You need a team. There's independent journalism, and then there's the news.
Yeah.
I can imagine you running that. You getting your core people who investigate different little things, and maybe if you have an expressed interest, you, aside from writing articles, you would also say, yes, and I will add my thoughts as a bit of an afterthought for people to read. The head editor, Angela Quinton, adds also to my review. Something like that. That's how you would really cover a wide swath of media.
Yeah.
From your lips to the werewolf god's pointed ears. I would love for that to happen. I don't. Once I win the lottery or I get an advance for a novel or something, maybe. But
I say a little bit of teamwork. I think if more people knew who you were, and if you got some good faith volunteers or something like that, you could kind of do something like that, because remember, the people you described, the other two people you described, are doing this because they want to, and if other people just wanted to kind of contribute to that, hey, you want a little spot on my thing for blah blah blah, then I'm just saying, it's ideas. I think everybody could afford themselves a little bit of ambition.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I need to spend a little more time without heaping on additional responsibility, though, because I do take that stuff really seriously. I'm still collecting royalties and then paying them out for Werewolves Versus contributors through the end of this year, after which the whole thing will just become permanently free, in part because I naively set it up in a way that means that when I pay royalties out to people, I have to send something like 250 manual PayPal transactions to people. And that's not fun to do. But also because I like there being a finite end point to something where I can say that's no longer on my whiteboard as a thing I have to think about or care about. That's done.
Yeah.
And until that point, I take it really seriously. I want to make sure that people who contributed get paid. I want to make sure that people given the cross section of the community that generally wants to contribute to something like an anthology of werewolf media. There's been some name changes. There's been some some turnover in the ways that people identify. So keeping that stuff up to date, that's important to me. I don't ever want to be in a position where I have people, especially people who are working in a volunteer capacity towards something, where I can't pay that kind of attention to the details that really matter.
Yeah.
Because that is something that would definitely contribute to burnout. And I think that I'm enjoying my post Werewolves Versus as an ongoing thing period by going hermit style and just making things and my little laboratory, and then pushing them out into the world and saying, hey, I made a thing, and then running back into the lab.
Well, as they like to say in a lot of media, from the maker of.
Yeah.
And you go from there,
Yeah.
And I very much co-sign that approach of dealing with a lot of the social accounts, because just putting your stuff out there and running away, very good. Let's very support this.
Yep. Drop and run.
Yeah, drop and run. Oh, awesome. Well, I really enjoyed that discussion, and I really appreciate you coming by, Angela, and chatting about all of this. I don't know if you have any potential questions for Libra and I on your mind.
Got no audience questions this week?
I don't have any audience questions, surprisingly.
Oh, guys.
They've been slacking.
People.
They've been slacking.
Listeners, viewers.
See, I can't join in with this chastisement because I don't actually have any questions for either of you. I'm just happy to
Who do I have to insult?
And to hang out.
Yeah.
Who do I have to insult to get you people to listen and say something, huh? Tell me. Who do I have to insult?
I don't know. Actually, oh, no, hold on. I lied. There is a question. I do apologize. It is specifically for Libra and I, though, so I guess I'll read it and you'll let me know what you think, Libra. So the question is from Leaf Wine, and they ask, let's say that you get to spend a week as me and I get to spend a week as you in a Freaky Friday sort of situation. What unexpected things would trip you up, or what would you need to caution the other person about?
For a week?
For a week.
Was it? Your job, man.
Yeah, I was going to
I'd
say.
have to make some big excuses. I cannot do your job. I can't even fake it because I don't comprehend it. So I would have to make some shit up. I will have to make up a family member who has died. I will have to pretend that the whole apartment flooded, even though it's upstairs, like 9 floors up. I gotta make some bullshit up, and then I gotta sit there and think, okay, the only one who could believe me is what is supposed to be me. I don't know how I'm going to be able to really communicate with other people. I guess, well, actually, you know what the good thing is? The good thing is that people know me well enough that I think they believe us, first of all.
Yeah.
So I think we could just kind of like camp out for a week, thankfully. And I'm not, I know Zill's going to have to answer. Aside from the work, I think it really would just be like, I think it would be like the clothes. Because I got different fashion. We talk about the gay brunch thing a few times already, and I'm just like, shit, this is not my wardrobe at all.
All right, next Saturday, I do want to see an outfit swap.
Oh my god.
No. Listen, I'm not going to hold you to it, but if at the live recording next week, there's not an outfit swap there, you will see me in the audience frowning slightly.
You know what the fucked up thing is? It's like, it's just like, you remember what I was saying like earlier about fashion and like feeling yourself and that kind of thing? The reason I'm bristling so hard is because, I feel that way about clothing. An easy example, like, never mind is like, oh, Zill wears whatever kind of clothing. It looks good on Zill. I don't feel it looks good on me, and I don't want it on me. I don't even like wearing a suit. I think suits are fucking stupid. I really do. I hate them, and I hate how I feel in them. I don't like them. So I can only imagine like wearing somebody else's like style or like a decal on a shirt of something that I'm like, I don't know, like I think an easy example is just like if I had to wear the pool toy shirt for a day at FE, and I would have people asking me questions about that, and I just have to return a very flat, I'm not fucking into this. I'm doing this because blank. I'll be like, oh, like, yeah, go now.
Okay, but that would be really funny.
It would be funny for you.
Listen, I mean, I still have to answer my side of the question, but I am not a cloak person. I am absolutely not a cloak person. But I would
jackets.
I would have to wear that or something similar to it. So, I think, I mean, you already touched up with the job stuff on my end. So I think, what unexpected things would trip me up? I I don't think this is a trip up thing. This is just on like a different axis, but bear with me. I would very much, with the proper advising from the person who actually has experience, I would very much want to practice some of the heavier weights that I have not progressed to yet in the gym, because getting to do them would get in my mind the experience of what that feels like and how I could action it. So getting to do that would actually be kind of cool. That's not really something to trip me up, though. That's just more like, oh, that's something I could experience. That would be fun. I think, if anything, maybe the thing that would trip me up the most would just be like understanding where things are in the spaces, because I would obviously want to respect the organizational aspect of things, and I obviously wouldn't necessarily know where things are supposed to go in various places, and I would be very in my head about like, I want to make sure that I'm not disturbing things, because at the end of the week you come back and I don't want to have made your life difficult. So I'd very much be like, I need to make sure that everything is in the places that it should be per your kind of instructions, and I would want to make sure that everything was properly laid out for when you got to come back. I think that would be the one thing I'd be like tripping up on a little bit.
I love that we're seriously talking about a Freaky Friday situation between the two of you, and your biggest concern, Zill, is basically not putting the forks in the spoon slot in the cup. I love that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you didn't even mention that you'd have to walk around, and then there's people around here who know me.
Oh, that's true.
And they might talk to you, be like, hey, remember that thing we talked about? That very important thing that you got dragged into, that you have to take care of? Yeah, what is that?
That's true, actually.
What is that thing? Remember?
Fuck.
Yeah, there are people who know me here. The reason I said specifically Zill's job is because, as far as I know, Zill doesn't run into people on the street very often that he knows.
No, I don't.
But I do. I have people around here that know my face, and some of these people I talk to for better or worse, and that's going to have to be something there. So unless you hole up for the entire week, and even then, you might have to go outside to get something for like a moment. It'll be like, oh, hey. And it'll be like,
Yeah, I feel like I'd
have to coach you on that.
I would not do a good job at first blush of playing your part, so to speak. I would definitely need some coaching there.
Yeah, see, me avoiding your job would also be, the other thing is, can I get away with that without harming your career? Know what I mean?
Probably. I'm too important at my job, so they have to let me get away with shit. So you'd probably get away with it, honestly.
Okay. You're just like, here, write this email for me, copy paste it, I will send it to them, and they won't suspect the word choices that I have. Oh man, saying things with my accent, with your fucking voice, man, that would be weird.
That would be
I
really
don't like
funny.
you, Leaf Wine. Fuck you.
I thought it was a good question. I appreciate it.
It is a good question. Also, fuck you.
But yeah, that was the only question I had. So
that's fine. Angela, where can people find your shit? People should find your shit. You're still pretty much working for it, so go enjoy it. Where is it?
ArgyleWerewolf.com. That's my website. You can find links to my itch store with Werewolves Versus and my personal writing, a bunch of other stuff I've done, including the browser extensions I wrote for Chrome and Firefox years ago that will replace all instances of the phrase Valentine's Day with Horny Werewolf Day in your browser. That, despite all my efforts at writing and community building and all these other things, I think that plugin might be my greatest legacy, because forevermore I will receive screenshots starting around January of people reading things completely forgetting that they had that installed and getting some really surprising results. So yeah, ArgyleWerewolf.com will get you to all the places where I am and where all my things are.
Stellar. Love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for coming on this week, and thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this week's episode. I hope you had as much fun listening to it as we did recording. And a reminder, of course, to come check us out at Vernal Equinox on the Saturday, primo 90-minute slot. You have no excuse this time. There's no dance competition at the same time as us, so no excuses. You better fucking come to the fucking live episode if you're there. That's my little spiel.
Yeah, do it. I mean, I paid to be in there. I'm paying to work there. Come on.
You get
to say...
Hang out and glare at these two if they're not wearing each other's shirts.
Not that they would know. Ah ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Only you would be disappointed. No.
And sorry, just to correct, it's at Saturday at 3, not 3:30. It's at 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Saturday. Be there.
3 p.m. Saturday. Don't worry, we'll be posting about it. Follow us on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
And you'll get the little notifications. Okay, everybody. Hey, Zil, did you know that drinking water is supposed to help curb the effects of aging? So if you're not properly hydrated, you just age faster.
Wow, I didn't know that. I guess that's what you find when you are off exploring the darkness, but never alone.
Yep. See you later, everybody.